Tonight, you're going to live through the most extreme story of survival, Shackleton's icebound crew defying death in Antarctica's frozen hell. It's January 1915, and you're aboard the Endurance, its wooden hull groaning as pack ice crushes it like a fist, the air sharp with frost and despair. Your boots slip on the deck, your breath clouds in the sub-zero wind, and you smell tar and sweat as the crew scrambles to save what's left. The horizon is a jagged wall of ice, trapping you in a white void where hope feels like a lie. One wrong step, and you're swallowed by the cold. Let's see if you make it out alive. Before the blood starts spilling, hit like and subscribe, if you can handle what's coming. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Now get comfortable, steel yourself, and let's begin. You're clinging to the Endurance's rail, your gloved hands numb, the ship tilting as ice grinds its timbers to splinters. The Weddell Sea is a frozen graveyard, its surface a chaos of floes and ridges, the sky a dull gray that offers no warmth. You hear the crew shouting, their voices raw, Frank Wild barking orders, Tom Crean hauling crates, Ernest Shackleton's calm cutting through the panic. You smell the oil lamps flickering below deck, their smoke mixing with the sea's briny sting. The ship's masts creak, a mournful song, and you know it's dying, leaving you stranded in Antarctica's heart. You scramble to unload supplies, your fingers burning through wool mittens as you drag canvas tents and wooden sledges onto the ice. The floe beneath you shudders, a crack snaking through it, and you freeze, heart pounding, waiting for the plunge into black water. You see Shackleton, his pipe clenched in his teeth, his eyes steady but shadowed, mapping a plan where none seems possible. You want to trust him, his voice a beacon, but the ice's grip is stronger, its cold a blade against your throat. You're not just a sailor, you're a speck in a wilderness that devours men. An eerie detail catches you, a lone albatross, its wings ghostly white, circles the Endurance's wreck, its cry piercing the wind like a warning. Whispers among the crew, old sailors' tales, call it a soul lost to the ice, guiding or cursing you. Historians still debate whether such omens haunted Shackleton's men or were born in later retellings, but you feel its weight, a chill deeper than the frost. You glance at the bird, its eyes unreadable, and haul another crate, the ice groaning, your pulse a drumbeat in the silence. Key fact, in January 1915, Ernest Shackleton's Imperial Trans-Antarctic expedition became trapped when the Endurance was crushed by pack ice in the Weddell Sea, stranding 28 men with no hope of rescue. You feel that isolation now, the crew's faces gaunt, their breath steaming as they pile provisions, tinned beef, biscuits, seal blubber, on the floe. You see Crean, his beard crusted with ice, laughing grimly as he ties a rope around a sledge. His defiance is a spark, but you're not sure if it's enough to keep you alive, the ice's embrace tightening with every hour. You notice a young stowaway, Perce Blackborough, barely 19, wrestling a barrel, his hands raw, his eyes wide with fear but refusing to break. You want to tell him to rest, to save his strength, but there's no pause here, no mercy. You recall Shackleton's promise, to cross Antarctica, to claim glory, but now it's survival, raw and brutal, a chance to carve your name into the ice. You're not sure if you're ready, but the albatross's cry lingers, a call to endure or perish. The Endurance cracks again, its hull splintering, and you move faster, the cold a whip driving you on. You're caught in the ice's rhythm, each crate a lifeline, each crack a threat. You see Wild, Shackleton's second, checking a sextant, his fingers stiff, plotting a camp on the floe. You feel the crew's trust in him, a thread holding you together, but also the fear, a floe can split, a storm can bury you. You recall the ship's warmth, its cramped bunks, now a memory as you face a night under canvas. The albatross vanishes, the sky darkens, and you're not just unloading, you're fighting for a chance to live, the ice your only ground, Shackleton's were your only guide. You're trekking across the cracking ice, your boots crunching through frozen slush, each step a gamble as the Weddell Sea's floes shift beneath you. It's February 1915, and the Endurance is a distant wreck, its broken masts a ghost in the gray dawn. Your breath steams, your face raw from wind that cuts like glass, and you smell seal blubber burning in a makeshift stove, its greasy smoke your only warmth. Shackleton leads the line, his silhouette steady against the ice's chaos, but the weight of your pack, tents, food, hope, drags you toward despair. You're not just walking, you're marching through a frozen hell, each crack threatening to swallow you whole. The floe trembles, a low groan echoing as fissures spiderweb underfoot. You hear the crew's labored breaths, their boots scraping, their sledges grinding against ice ridges. Frank Wilde pulls a sledge, his face set, while Tom Crean trudges behind, his pipe unlit, his eyes scanning for cracks. You grip a rope tied to a crate, your gloves frayed, your fingers numb but clawing for purchase. The horizon is a jagged maze, floes rising like broken teeth, and you feel the ice's malice, a living thing that wants you gone. You want to stop, to rest, but Shackleton's voice, sharp, unyielding, drives you forward. An eerie detail catches you, a faint blue glow pulses beneath the ice, like a heartbeat trapped in the frozen depths. Whispers among the crew, sailors' superstitions, call it the soul of the sea, a spirit watching your struggle. Historians still debate whether such lights were bioluminescent algae or exhaustion's hallucination, but you feel its pulse, a cold that seems alive, watching you falter. You glance at the glow, its shimmer unsettling, and tighten your grip on the rope, the ice's groan a warning that time is short. Key fact, after the Endurance was crushed in January 1915, Shackleton's crew marched across the Weddell Sea's pack ice for months, dragging lifeboats and supplies toward open water, a grueling trek with no guarantee of survival. You feel that desperation now, your legs burning, your back bent under the pack's weight, the ice shifting like a traitor beneath you. You see Perce Blackborough, the young stowaway, stumbling, his scarf frozen to his lips, but he pulls on, his youth a spark against the cold. You want to help him, to share the load, but every man carries his own fight here, and yours is to keep moving. You notice a dog team ahead, their paws bloody, their barks faint as they strain against harnesses, pulling sledges over ice hummocks. You hear their handler, Leonard Hussey, muttering encouragement, his banjo long silent, his optimism fraying. You recall the Endurance's warmth, its oil lamps, now a memory as you face a landscape that offers no mercy. The blue glow pulses again, a rhythm that mocks your steps, and you wonder if it's guiding you to safety or luring you to a grave. The albatross's cry from the ship's wreck echoes in your mind, a warning you can't shake. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a speck defying Antarctica's wrath, Shackleton's will your only compass. You see him pause, his sextant raised, plotting a course through the ice's maze, his pipe smoke curling like a ghost. You feel the crew's trust in him, a fragile thread, but also the fear, a floe could split, a storm could bury you. You're not sure if his plan, to reach open water, is madness or salvation, but you march, the rope cutting your shoulder, the ice's cracks a constant threat. The glow beneath pulses, a heartbeat you can't trust. You're caught in the march's rhythm, each step a battle, each breath a victory. You notice Crean, his face crusted with frost, sharing a grim smile as he adjusts a sledge. His Defiance is afire, but you feel the cold seeping in, numbing your hope. You recall the crates you hauled from the Endurance, their weight a promise of survival, now a burden that could kill you. The ice groans louder, a crack splitting the floe ahead, and you freeze, heart pounding, Shackleton's shout pulling you forward. You're not just marching, you're clawing for life, the blue glow a question, the ice your answer. You push on, the floes shifting, the sky darkening, the wind a blade against your face. You see Blackborough stumble again, his hands gripping the rope, his eyes fierce despite the cold. You want to tell him he's stronger than he knows, but words freeze in your throat. The dogs bark faintly, Hussey's voice a whisper, and you feel the crew's bond, a chain forged in ice. You're not sure if you'll reach the sea, but Shackleton's silhouette, unyielding, keeps you moving, the glow beneath a mystery, the march of fight you can't lose. You're huddling in a tattered canvas tent, the Antarctic night a black void outside, the bitter darkness clawing at your bones as you share a seal blubber fire with Shackleton's icebound crew. It's March 1915, and the Weddell Sea's floes creak beneath your camp, the wind howling like a beast, carrying shards of ice that sting your face. You smell the rancid blubber, its smoke choking the air, mixing with the sour tang of unwashed men. Your fingers, wrapped in frayed wool, clutch a tin cup of watery tea, its warmth a fleeting lie against the cold that settled in your marrow. You're not just resting, you're fighting to stay alive, a speck of defiance in a frozen grave. The tent flaps shudder, letting in gusts that scatter frost across the floor, the blubber fire flickering, casting shadows on the faces of Frank Wilde, Tom Crean, and Perce Blackborough. You hear their low voices, Crean's rough laugh breaking the silence as he tells a tale of Irish storms, his pipe unlit, his beard a mask of ice. Shackleton sits apart, his eyes scanning a crumpled map, his pipe smoke curling like a ghost, planning a path through the ice that feels like madness. You feel the crew's hunger, a gnawing beast, the rations, hard biscuits, tinned beef, dwindling with each endless night. An eerie detail catches you, a faint scratching sound, like claws, echoes from beneath the floe, as if something alive stirs in the black water below. Whispers among the crew, sailors' lore, call it a sea spirit, trapped in the ice, mourning or mocking your plight. Historians still debate whether such sounds were seals or the crew's exhaustion weaving fear into myth, but you feel its chill, a presence that deepens the darkness. You glance at the tent's floor, the ice beneath unyielding, and sip your tea, its bitterness grounding you, the scratching a riddle you can't solve. Key fact: by March 1915, Shackleton's crew had established a camp on the drifting ice floes of the Weddell Sea, surviving on minimal rations and seal meat while awaiting a chance to reach open water, a test of endurance that pushed them to the edge. You feel that edge now, your stomach hollow, your body shivering despite the blubber fire's heat. You see Blackborough, the stowaway, wrapping his frostbitten feet in rags, his eyes defiant but shadowed, his youth no shield against the cold. You want to offer him your tea, to share its warmth, but there's barely enough, and survival demands selfishness. You notice Wilde sharpening a knife on a whetstone, the scrape a rhythm that fights the wind's howl. His hands are steady, but his face is gaunt, the lines deeper, as if the ice carves men as it did the Endurance. You recall the march across the floes, the blue glow beneath, the albatross's cry, omens that led to this camp, this darkness. You're not sure if Shackleton's plan, to wait for the ice to break, will save you or doom you, but his voice, calm and resolute, holds the tent together, a thread against despair. The scratching sound rises, then fades, leaving a silence that feels heavier than the cold. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a spark in Antarctica's jaws, Shackleton's were your only light. You see Crean, his fingers tracing a crack in his boot, his grin a defiance that warms the tent. You feel the crew's bond, forged in shared hunger, shared fear, but also the strain, every man's eyes on the rations, every cough a threat. You recall the Endurance's wreck, its splintered hull, and wonder if this camp is just another grave. The blubber fire sputters, the wind screams, and you pull your coat tighter, the cold a blade that never rests. You're caught in the camp's rhythm, each breath a fight, each flicker of the fire a hope that gutters. You notice Blackborough, now humming faintly, a tune from home, his voice a whisper against the wind. You want to join him, to remember a world beyond ice, but the scratching beneath returns, a clawing that sets your teeth on edge. You feel the Cammie's gaze, not Cammie, but something older, colder, watching from the depths. Shackleton folds his map, his eyes meeting yours, and you see his resolve, a fire that burns without warmth. You're not just waiting, you're enduring, the ice your prison, the crew your chain. You huddle closer to the fire, the tense canvas trembling, the darkness pressing in. You see Wilde's knife gleam, Crean's pipe clenched, Blackborough's tune fading. The scratching sound lingers, a mystery that haunts the night. You're not sure if the ice will break or break you, but Shackleton's gaze holds you, a promise that you'll fight on. The albatross, the glow, the scratching, they weave a tapestry of survival, and you're its thread, a man clinging to life in a frozen hell. You're rowing through towering waves, your hands blistered on the oars of a battered lifeboat, the Antarctic Ocean's wrath crashing over you as Shackleton's crew fights for survival. It's April 1915, and the ice floes have finally broken, releasing you from their grip, but the open sea is a beast, its black waves rearing like mountains under a storm-gray sky. You smell salt and wet canvas, the air thick with spray and the crew's ragged shouts. Your coat is soaked, your face stung by wind, and you feel the boat buck, threatening to hurl you into the abyss. You're not just rowing, you're battling a sea that wants to swallow you whole. The lifeboat, the James Caird, groans under the strain, its timbers creaking as waves slam its hull. You see Shackleton at the helm, his eyes fixed on a horizon you can't discern, his voice cutting through the storm, urging you to pull harder. Tom Crean rows beside you, his beard crusted with salt, his arms tireless despite the hunger in his face. Frank Wilde clings to the tiller, his knuckles white, while Perce Blackborough, wedged in the bow, bails water with a tin cup, his hands trembling but relentless. You hear the winds howl, a scream that drowns hope, and feel the cold seep into your bones, a weight heavier than the oars. An eerie detail catches you, a single petrel, its wings black against the storm, dives through the spray, its cry sharp, as if mocking your frail boat. Whispers among the crew, old sailors' tales, call it a harbinger, a spirit of the sea testing your will. Historians still debate whether such birds were omens or simply drawn to the chaos, but you feel its gaze, a challenge to endure where nature demands surrender. You glance at the petrel, its wings slicing the air, and grip the oars tighter, the boat lurching, your heart pounding with each wave's crest. Key fact: in April 1915, after months on the ice, Shackleton's crew launched 3 lifeboats from the Weddell Sea floes, aiming for Elephant Island, a 150-mile journey through treacherous waters that tested their endurance beyond human limits. You feel that test now, your shoulders burning, your hands raw, the oars slipping as waves crash over the bow. You see Crean's grim smile, a flicker of defiance, as he pulls against the sea's fury. You want to rest, to let the oars drop, but Shackleton's shout, steady, unyielding, drives you on, his will a fire that burns through the storm. You notice the James Caird's canvas cover flapping, torn by the wind, seawater pooling at your feet. You recall the ice camp, the scratching beneath the floe, the blue glow, omens that led to this desperate voyage. You're not sure if Elephant Island, a rocky speck in the void, is salvation or a mirage, but you row, the boat's rhythm a pulse against the sea's chaos. You see Blackborough, his face pale, bailing faster, his cup a futile weapon against the flood. You want to tell him to keep fighting, but your voice is lost, the wind stealing your breath. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a spark in the ocean's jaws, Shackleton's plan your only anchor. You feel the crew's strain, their hands bleeding, their eyes fixed on Shackleton's back, trusting him through the storm. The petrel dives again, its cry piercing, and you wonder if it's guiding you or taunting you. You recall the albatross over the Endurance, its ghostly wings, and feel its echo here, a call to endure. The boat rocks, a wave nearly capsizing you, and you pull harder, the oars your lifeline, the sea your enemy. You're caught in the ocean's rhythm, each stroke a fight, each wave a threat. You see Wilde, his face carved by wind, adjusting the tiller, his eyes scanning for land that refuses to appear. You feel the crew's bond, a chain forged in ice and now tested by water, but also the fear, a leak, a rogue wave, could end you all. You're not sure if Shackleton's course is true, but his voice holds you, a beacon in the dark. The petrel vanishes, the sky darkens, and you row, the cold numbing your hands, the sea's wrath a blade that never rests. You push on, the waves relentless, the boat a fragile shell in a churning void. You see Crean's shoulders heave, Blackborough's hands shake, Shackleton's pipe clenched as he steers. The storm's howl is a chorus, the petrel's cry its refrain. You're not just rowing, you're defying death, the sea a crucible, the crew your strength. The ice's grip, the camp's darkness, they're behind you, but the ocean's fury is now, and you row, Shackleton's will pulling you toward a shore you can only hope exists. You're stumbling onto Elephant Island's desolate shore, your boots crunching on frozen pebbles, the James Caird's battered hull scraping behind you as the Antarctic wind howls a welcome that feels like a curse. It's April 1915, and the sea's grey fury fades at your back, replaced by a jagged cliff's shadow under a twilight sky heavy with snow. You smell salt and damp wool, your coat sodden, your hands blistered from days of rowing through towering waves. Shackleton stands ahead, his silhouette sharp against the barren rocks, scanning for shelter, while the crew, gaunt, frostbitten, collapses around you. You're not just landing, you're clinging to a speck of land in a frozen void, survival of fragile hope. The beach is a chaos of stones and ice, the tide hissing as it retreats, leaving seaweed and frost in its wake. You hear the crew's ragged breaths, Tom Crean coughing, Frank Wilde muttering as he ties the lifeboat's rope to a boulder. Perce Blackborough, the stowaway, sits shivering, his scarf frozen to his lips, his eyes wide but unyielding. You feel the weight of exhaustion, your legs trembling, the cold blade slicing through your bones. Shackleton's voice, steady despite his own weariness, orders a camp, and you drag a canvas tent, its fabric stiff, toward a hollow in the cliffs. An eerie detail catches you, a single penguin, its feathers slick, waddles across the shore, pausing to stare at you with unblinking eyes, as if judging your intrusion. Whispers among the crew, sailors' superstitions, call it a guardian of the island, a soul bound to this wasteland. Historians still debate whether such encounters were omens or mere wildlife, but you feel its gaze, a chill that deepens the desolation. You glance at the penguin, its stillness unnerving, and haul the tent, the wind's bite sharpening your focus, the shore's bleakness a mirror of your own fragility. Key fact: on April 24, 1915, Shackleton's crew reached Elephant Island after a grueling 150-mile journey in lifeboats, becoming the first humans to set foot on its inhospitable shores, with no guarantee of rescue. You feel that isolation now, the island's cliffs looming like sentinels, the sea behind you a barrier no ship will cross. You see Shackleton, his pipe clenched, sketching a camp plan in the snow with a stick, his eyes fierce with resolve. You want to believe in him, but the island's barrenness mocks hope, its rocks offering no warmth, no food, only a pause in the fight against death. You notice Wilde, his hands raw, piling stones to anchor the tent, his face carved by hunger and wind. You recall the ocean's wrath, the petrel's cry, the blue glow beneath the ice, omens that led to this desolate shore. You're not sure if landing here is salvation or a slower doom, but you move, dragging crates of tinned beef and biscuits, their weight a reminder of dwindling rations. You see Crean, his boots crunching, scouting for a spring, his laugh gone, replaced by a grim set of his jaw. You want to ask if he sees hope, but the wind steals your voice, the cold your strength. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a spark on a shore that devours light, Shackleton's were your only fire. You feel the crew's strain, their hands bleeding, their eyes hollow but fixed on the task. The penguin waddles away, disappearing into the twilight, and you wonder if it's a sign of life or a taunt of your own frailty. You recall the albatross over the Endurance, the scratching beneath the ice camp, and feel their echo here, a call to endure. The tent rises, its canvas flapping, a fragile shield against the snow that begins to fall, soft but relentless. You're caught in the island's rhythm, each stone a fight, each breath a victory. You see Blackborough, his frostbitten fingers fumbling with a rope, his youth a spark that refuses to die. You want to tell him to keep fighting, but the cold locks your words, the wind a howl that drowns all but Shackleton's orders. You're not sure if this shore is a refuge or a grave, but Shackleton's plan, to wait, to survive, holds you, a thread against despair. The cliffs loom, the sea roars, and you work, the penguin's gaze lingering, the snow a veil over your hope. You push on, the camp taking shape, the crew's movements slow but deliberate, a defiance carved in stone and canvas. You see Wilde's knife flash, cutting rope, Crean's silhouette against the cliffs, Blackborough's scarf trailing as he hauls a crate. The snow thickens, the twilight deepens, and you feel the island's weight, its silence a challenge. You're not just landing, you're staking a claim to life, the crew your strength, Shackleton your guide. The penguin, the glow, the petrel, they weave a tapestry of survival, and you're its thread, a man clinging to hope on a desolate shore. You're climbing the jagged peaks of South Georgia Island, your boots slipping on ice-crusted rock, the wind howling as Shackleton leads you through a frozen labyrinth of despair. It's May 1916, and you're one of three: Shackleton, Frank Worsley, Tom Crean, crossing uncharted mountains to reach a whaling station, your crew's only hope of rescue left behind on Elephant Island. The air smells of frost and sweat, your rope-burned hands gripping a frayed line, your body battered from the 800-mile sea voyage in the James Caird. The peaks loom like giants, their shadows swallowing the twilight, and you feel the weight of every step, a climb that could save or doom your men. You're not just moving, you're defying death itself, a spark in a wilderness that crushes hope. The slope steepens, shale skittering underfoot, the wind a blade that tears at your tattered coat. You hear Crean's heavy breaths, his face raw, his eyes fixed on Shackleton's back, while Worsley, the navigator, stumbles, his sextant useless here, his hands clawing for grip. Shackleton leads, his pipe long gone, his voice hoarse but unyielding, urging you over ridges that seem endless. You feel the cold sear your lungs, the hunger gnaw your gut, the memory of Elephant Island's desolate shore of fire that drives you upward. The sky is a bruise, snow flurries dancing, and you know one slip could end it all, the mountains offering no mercy. An eerie detail catches you, a faint hum, like a distant choir, echoes through the peaks, as if the ice itself sings a dirge for your struggle. Whispers in your mind, sailors' tales, call it the voice of the dead, spirits of lost explorers haunting these slopes. Historians still debate whether such sounds were wind through crevasses or the crew's exhaustion weaving myth, but you feel its chill, a presence that makes the peaks feel alive, watching your faltering steps. You glance at the ridge, the hum fading, and tighten your grip on the rope, the cold a claw, your heart pounding with each precarious foothold. Key fact: in May 1916, Shackleton, Worsley, and Crean crossed South Georgia Island's uncharted interior in a 36-hour march, a feat of endurance to reach the Stromness whaling station and organize rescue for the crew on Elephant Island. You feel that urgency now, your legs burning, your hands bleeding through rags, the rope your lifeline across a glacier's edge. You see Shackleton pause, his eyes scanning the peaks, plotting a path through fog and ice. You want to rest, to collapse, but his resolve, raw, relentless, pulls you forward, a beacon in this frozen hell. The hum rises again, a ghostly thread, and you wonder if it's guiding you or luring you to a grave. You notice Crean, his boots shredded, slipping but catching himself, his curse a spark of defiance that warms you. You recall the James Caird's waves, the petrel's cry, the penguin on Elephant Island, omens that led to this climb, this gamble. You're not sure if the whaling station exists, or if it's a mirage born of Shackleton's will, but you climb, the rope cutting your palms, the peaks a maze of death. You see Worsley, his face gaunt, muttering bearings as if the stars could help here. You want to tell him to save his breath, but the wind steals your voice, the cold your strength. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a speck on mountains that devour men, Shackleton's plan your only light. You feel the trio's bond, forged in ice and sea, now tested by stone and cold, but also the fear, a crevasse, a fall, could end your crew's hope. The hum lingers, a riddle you can't solve, and you recall the albatross, the blue glow, the scratching beneath the floe, signs that wove your journey. The glacier cracks, a low groan, and you freeze, Shackleton's shout pulling you onward, the rope your tether, the peaks your crucible. You're caught in the climb's rhythm, each step a fight, each breath a prayer. You see Shackleton's coat flap, Crean's hand steady Worsley, the fog thickening, snow stinging your face. You feel the crew left behind, their hollow eyes on Elephant Island, trusting you to save them. You're not sure if you'll reach Stromness, but Shackleton's will holds you, a fire that burns without warmth. The hum fades, the peaks silent, and you climb, the cold a weight, the rope a lifeline. You're not just crossing mountains, you're carrying lives, the crew's spark, a defiance that refuses to die. You push on, the ridge narrowing, the drop below a black void, the wind a howl that drowns thought. You see Crean's grin, faint but fierce, Worsley's eyes fierce with focus, Shackleton's silhouette a guide through the fog. The snow thickens, the twilight deepens, and you feel the mountains gaze, their silence a challenge. You're not just climbing, you're forging a path to rescue, the crew your strength, Shackleton your soul. The hum, the penguin, the petrel, they weave a tapestry of survival, and you're its thread, a man clinging to hope in a frozen abyss. You're staggering down South Georgia's icy slopes, your legs trembling, the faint curl of whalers' smoke rising from the valley below, a flicker of hope piercing the despair of your climb. It's May 1916, and the twilight sky is heavy with snow, the wind a knife slicing through your tattered coat as you, Shackleton, and Tom Crean descend toward Stromness whaling station. You smell damp wool and distant coal, the air sharp with frost and the promise of rescue. Your hands, raw from rope burns, grip a makeshift staff, your boots slipping on shale, each step a prayer that the smoke isn't a mirage. You're not just walking, you're chasing a spark that could save your crew, left starving on Elephant Island. The path twists, rocks jagged underfoot, the glacier's cracks glinting in the fading light. You hear Crean's heavy breaths, his face crusted with ice, his eyes locked on the smoke's thin thread, while Shackleton leads, his silhouette lean but unyielding, his voice hoarse from shouting over the wind. You feel hunger claw your gut, your body a husk after the 36-hour march across uncharted peaks. The valley below teases warmth, a whaling station, men, ships, but the slope is treacherous, and one misstep could bury your hope in a crevasse. You want to run, to reach the smoke, but your legs falter, the cold a chain holding you back. An eerie detail catches you, a single seal, its sleek body motionless on a distant ice floe, stares at you, its eyes like black mirrors reflecting your exhaustion. Whispers in your mind, sailors' tales, call it a sentinel of the sea, guarding the path to salvation or warning of its cost. Historians still debate whether such encounters shaped the crew's resolve or were mere exhaustion-born visions, but you feel its gaze, a weight that deepens the twilight's chill. You glance at the seal, its stillness haunting, and grip your staff tighter, the smokes curl a beacon you can't lose. Key fact, on May 20, 1916, Shackleton, Crean, and Frank Worsley reached Stromness whaling station after their grueling crossing of South Georgia, securing the first step toward rescuing the 22 men left on Elephant Island. You feel that urgency now, your breath ragged, your hands bleeding, the smoke a fragile promise of life after months of ice and sea. You see Shackleton pause, his eyes scanning the valley, his face gaunt but fierce, as if willing the station to exist. You want to shout, to call for help, but your voice is a rasp, the wind stealing it, the cold a blade that never dulls. You notice Crean, his boots shredded, slipping but catching himself, his curse a spark that cuts the silence. You recall the James Caird's waves, the penguin on Elephant Island, the hum in the mountains, omens that led to this moment, this hope. You're not sure if the smoke is real or a trick of the fog, but you descend, the slope steep, the rocks sharp, Shackleton's pace relentless. You see Worsley, his sextant abandoned, his hands steadying himself, his eyes fixed on the valley like a man seeing home. You want to ask if he believes, but the wind's howl drowns thought, the cold your only focus. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a spark in Antarctica's jaws, Shackleton's will your only fire. You feel the trio's bond, forged in ice, sea, and stone, now stretched thin by exhaustion, but unbroken. The seal's black eyes linger in your mind, a riddle of survival or sacrifice, and you recall the albatross, the blue glow, the scratching beneath the floe, signs that wove your journey. The slope levels, the smoke thicker, and you hear a distant clang, a whaler's hammer, a sound of life. Your heart leaps, but the cold grips tighter, a reminder that hope is fragile. You're caught in the descent's rhythm, each step a fight, each breath a vow. You see Shackleton's coat flap, Crean's hand steady Worsley, the fog thinning, revealing Stromness' faint outline, huts, masts, smoke. You feel the crew left behind, their hollow eyes on Elephant Island, trusting you to save them. You're not sure if the station will welcome you, or if you'll collapse before you reach it, but Shackleton's will holds you, a flame that burns without warmth. The seal vanishes, the snow lightens, and you stumble on, the smoke a lifeline, the valley a crucible. You push on, the path easing, the smoke now a clear plume, the clang of metal louder, a pulse of humanity. You see Crean's grin, faint but fierce, Worsley's eyes bright with hope, Shackleton's silhouette a guide through the dusk. The snow softens, the twilight glows, and you feel the mountain's gaze lift, their silence yielding to the station's hum. You're not just descending, you're carrying lives, the crew's spark, a defiance that refuses to die. The seal, the hum, the petrol, they weave a tapestry of survival, and you're its thread, a man chasing hope in a frozen world. You're standing in Stromness whaling station, your boots caked with ice, facing the hollow eyes of your crew as you reunite with the men left behind on Elephant Island, their gaunt faces a mirror of your own exhaustion. It's August 1916, and the dim light of a coal lamp casts shadows across the whalers' huts, the air thick with oil and salt, the wind a low moan outside. You smell damp wool and blubber, your hands trembling from the journey, mountains crossed, seas braved, to bring help. Shackleton stands beside you, his coat torn, his eyes fierce but weary, as the rescued men shuffle forward, their voices raspy with disbelief. You're not just reuniting, you're confronting the cost of survival, a bond forged in ice and hunger now tested by time. The hut's wooden walls creak, the floor slick with grease, as you see Frank Wild, Perce Blackborough, and Leonard Hussey among the survivors, their beards matted, their clothes patched with seal skin. You hear their coughs, weak but defiant, and feel their hands grip yours, bones sharp beneath frostbitten skin. Wild's eyes meet yours, a flicker of gratitude shadowed by months of waiting, while Blackborough, barely standing, manages a faint smile, his youth carved away by the cold. Shackleton's voice, hoarse from shouting orders, calls for food, blankets, a plan, but you see the weight on him, the fear that some men might be too far gone. The lamp flickers, casting ghosts on the walls, and you feel the silence, heavy with what's been endured. An eerie detail catches you, a single whalebone, carved with strange runes, lies on a table, as if the whalers left it as a token of the sea's mysteries. Whispers in your mind, sailors' lore, call it a charm for safe voyages, or a curse for those who defy the ocean. Historians still debate whether such artifacts were common at Stromness or part of the crew's myth-making, but you feel its weight, a relic of a world that nearly claimed you. You glance at the bone, its runes unreadable, and turn to Wild, his hand steadying Blackborough, the hut a fragile haven after months of ice. Key fact, on August 30, 1916, Shackleton successfully rescued all 22 men from Elephant Island aboard the Chilean steamer Yelcho, after 4 months of relentless attempts to secure a ship, a feat that saved every member of his crew. You feel that triumph now, your chest tight, your eyes stinging as you see the men alive, their faces a testament to Shackleton's promise kept. You notice Hussey, his banjo clutched like a talisman, his fingers too weak to play, but his eyes bright with relief. You want to speak, to ask what they endured, but words fail, the hut's warmth a shock after the cold that defined you. You notice a whaler, his apron stained, watching from the corner, his face unreadable, as if your ghost's risen from the sea. You recall the James Caird's waves, the seal on South Georgia's flow, the hum in the mountains, omens that led to this reunion, this miracle. You're not sure if the crew's survival is luck or Shackleton's will, but you feel their bond, a chain unbroken by ice, sea, or time. You see Wild, his knife at his belt, recounting Elephant Island's hunger, his voice low, steady, a leader who held the men together. You want to thank him, but the whalebone's runes catch your eye, a reminder of the sea's strange power. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a spark that burned through Antarctica's jaws, Shackleton's vow your anchor. You feel the crew's fragility, their hands trembling, their eyes haunted by months of darkness, but also their strength, a defiance that refused to break. The whalebone lies still, a riddle of survival or sacrifice, and you recall the albatross, the blue glow, the petrel's cry, signs that wove your journey. The lamp burns steady, the wind softens, and you feel the hut's warmth, a fragile shield against the cold that lingers in your bones. You're caught in the reunion's rhythm, each handshake a vow, each glance a story. You see Blackborough, his frostbitten feet wrapped, leaning on Hussey, his smile a spark that warms the room. You feel the crew left behind, their trust in Shackleton vindicated, but also the cost, men changed, hollowed, yet alive. You're not sure if you're whole, but Shackleton's gaze, fierce with relief, holds you, a fire that burned through ice and sea. The whalebone's runes gleam, the lamp's light steady, and you stand, the crew your strength, the reunion a testament to what men can endure. You reach for a blanket, draping it over Blackborough's shoulders, the wool rough but warm, the hut a sanctuary. You see Wild's nod, Crean's grin, Shackleton's hand on a map, planning the return to civilization. The wind hums outside, the whalebone silent, and you feel the sea's gaze lift, its mysteries yielding to the crew's survival. You're not just reuniting, you're carrying their lives, their spark, a defiance that conquered a frozen hell. The albatross, the seal, the hum, they weave a tapestry of triumph, and you're its thread, a man forged by ice, now whole. You're sailing aboard the Yelcho, a Chilean steamer slicing through the Antarctic Sea's grey swells, your eyes fixed on the horizon where Elephant Island waits, its jagged cliffs a beacon for the crew you swore to save. It's August 1916, and the dawn's pale light glints off the waves, the air sharp with salt and coal smoke from the ship's engines. You smell damp wool and oil, your hands gripping the rail, your coat still torn from South Georgia's peaks. Shackleton stands at the bow, his face carved by months of relentless will, his voice low as he speaks to the captain, urging speed. You're not just sailing, you're racing to keep a promise, to pull your men from the jaws of a frozen grave. The deck vibrates underfoot, the Yelcho's hull battering ice flows, their cracks sharp against the engine's hum. You hear Tom Crean's boots pace nearby, his beard flecked with frost, his eyes scanning the sea for land. Frank Worsley, the navigator, checks charts with the Chilean crew, his hands steady despite the exhaustion etched in his face. You feel the weight of time, 4 months since you left Elephant Island, 4 months of hunger, cold, and despair for the men you left behind. The sea's rhythm is relentless, each wave a reminder of the James Caird's hell, and you pray the Yelcho's steel holds where wood nearly broke. An eerie detail catches you, a single iceberg, shaped like a shattered cathedral, drifts past, its spires glowing faintly in the dawn, as if mourning the men you seek. Whispers in your mind, sailors' tales, call it a monument to the lost, a warning or a blessing for your rescue. Historians still debate whether such sights haunted Shackleton's final voyage or were woven into later myths, but you feel its presence, a chill that deepens the sea's vastness. You glance at the iceberg, its glow unsettling, and grip the rail tighter, the Yelcho's bow cutting forward, Elephant Island's shadow a faint smudge ahead. Key fact, Shackleton's fourth attempt to rescue his crew succeeded on August 30, 1916, when the Yelcho, loaned by the Chilean government, reached Elephant Island after previous ships were thwarted by ice and storms, a testament to his unbreakable resolve. You feel that resolve now, your chest tight, your hands numb, the horizon sharpening as the island's cliffs rise, their rocks a promise of life or a grave. You see Shackleton, his eyes fierce, counting the miles, his pipe unlit, a man who's defied nature itself. You want to shout, to call to the crew, but the sea's roar drowns your voice, the cold a blade that keeps you focused. You notice Crean, his hands clenched, staring at the cliffs, his face a map of hope and fear. You recall Stromness' whalebone runes, the seal's gaze, the hum in South Georgia's peaks, omens that led to this moment, this voyage. You're not sure if the crew still lives, if they've endured Elephant Island's hunger and storms, but you sail, the Yelcho's engines a pulse against the sea's indifference. You see Worsley, his charts rolled, his eyes fixed on the island, as if his navigation alone could pull the men to safety. You want to ask if he trusts the sea, but the wind steals your words, the cold your breath. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a spark in Antarctica's void, Shackleton's vow your anchor. You feel the crew's bond, forged in ice, sea, and stone, now stretched across months of separation, but unbroken. The iceberg's glow lingers, a riddle of loss or salvation, and you recall the albatross, the blue glow, the petrel's cry, signs that wove your journey. The Yelcho's forward, the cliffs loom, and you hear a faint shout, a lookout's cry, signal, pointing to a signal fire on the shore. Your heart leaps, but the sea's shadow clings, reminder that rescue is a fight not yet won. You're caught in the voyage's rhythm, each wave a step, each breath a prayer. You see Shackleton's silhouette, Crean's pacing still, Worsley's charts a quiet defiance, his eyes bright. You feel the men on Elephant Island, their hollow eyes, waiting for a ship that might never come. You're not sure if you'll find them alive, or if the island's cliffs hold only ghosts, but Shackleton's will hold you, a fire that burns through fog. The iceberg cathedral fades, the dawn brightens, and you stand, the deck steady, the crew's spark a lifeline. You push on, the sea calming, the cliffs now clear, the signal fire a clear plume, the shouts louder, men, alive, waving. You see Shackleton's shoulders lift, Crean's grin fierce, Worsley's nod a silent triumph. The wind softens, the dawn glows, and you feel the sea's gaze lift, its mysteries yielding to the crew's survival. You're not just sailing, you're fulfilling a vow, carrying lives, a defiance that conquered ice and sea. The iceberg cathedral, the seal, the hum, they weave a tapestry of rescue, and you're its thread, a man forged by cold, now racing to save. You're standing on Elephant Island's rocky shore, the Yelcho's anchor chain rattling as your crew, gaunt, frostbitten, alive, stumbles toward you, their hollow eyes blazing with defiance that outlasted Antarctica's frozen grip. It's August 30th, 1916, and the dawn's soft light bathes the cliffs, the sea's murmur a quiet hymn after months of storms. You smell salt and damp canvas, your hands raw from the Yelcho's rail, your coat still torn from South Georgia's peaks. Shackleton stands beside you, his voice breaking as he counts the men, 22, all alive, a miracle carved from ice and will. You're not just witnessing, you're carrying their defiant spirit, a spark that burned through a frozen hell to become legend. The beach is strewn with pebbles and seal bones, the tide gentle, washing away the scars of their camp. You hear Frank Wilde's hoarse laugh, his hand gripping yours, his beard matted with frost, while Tom Crean helps purse Blackborough, his frostbitten feet dragging, his smile a spark undimmed by hunger. You see Leonard Hussey, his banjo slung across his back, his eyes bright with relief, and feel the crew's bond, a chain forged in ice, sea, and stone, now whole. The air is heavy with their survival, their breath steaming, their voices a chorus of disbelief and joy. You want to embrace them, to share their triumph, but you stand, rooted, the weight of their endurance a blade in your heart. An eerie detail catches you, a single gull, its wings tipped with dawn's gold, circles the shore, its cry soft, as if saluting the men who defied the ice. Whispers in your mind, sailors' tales, call it a soul freed from the sea, a final omen of victory. Historians still debate whether such birds were signs or simply drawn to the camp scraps, but you feel its grace, a light that softens the island's desolation. You glance at the gull, its flight serene, and feel the crew's spirit, a fire that burned through darkness, now glowing in their eyes. Key fact, Shackleton's rescue of his entire 22-man crew from Elephant Island on August 30, 1916, marked the end of the Imperial Transantarctic Expedition, with no lives lost despite 2 years of unimaginable hardship, a feat unmatched in exploration history. You feel that miracle now, your chest tight, your hands steady as you help Wilde load a crate onto the Yelcho, his strength a testament to the months he led on this shore. You see Blackborough, his scarf loose, boarding the ship, his youth reclaimed in the dawn's light. You want to ask what kept them alive, but their faces, hollow yet fierce, tell a story words can't hold. You notice a tattered tent flap, left on the beach, fluttering like a flag of survival, its canvas patched with seal skin. You recall the Yelcho's voyage, the iceberg cathedral, the seal's gaze, the hum in South Georgia's peaks, omens that wove this journey, this rescue. You're not sure if it was Shackleton's will, luck, or something greater that saved them, but you feel their defiance, a spark that refused to die. You see Crean, his grin wide, hauling a rope, and Hussey, strumming a faint note on his banjo, a melody of home. The gull circles once more, its cry a farewell, and you feel the island's weight lift, its cliffs now silent witnesses. You're not just a sailor, you're a survivor, a thread in a tapestry of men who conquered Antarctica's jaws. You feel the crew's triumph, their hands clasping, their eyes meeting yours, a bond unbroken by time or cold. The gull's flight lingers, a sign of peace, and you recall the albatross, the blue glow, the petrel's cry, threads of a story that ends here, on this shore. The Yelcho's engine hums, ready to carry you home, and you see Shackleton, his shoulders slumped, his eyes soft, a man who kept his vow. You're not sure if you're whole, but their survival is yours, a fire that warms the dawn. You're caught in the rescue's rhythm, each step aboard the Yelcho a vow fulfilled, each glance a memory forged. You see Wild's nod, Crean's hand on Blackborough's shoulder, Hussey's banjo quiet now, its notes a whisper of hope. The sea calms, the dawn brightens, and you feel the crew's spirit, a defiance that outlasted ice and storm. You're not just leaving, you're carrying their legend, a spark that will echo beyond this shore. The gull soars, the cliffs fade, and you board, the Yelcho your bridge to a world that will never understand what you endured. The Yelcho glides from Elephant Island, its wake a soft ripple under a sky now clear, the dawn's light gilding the sea. You stand on the deck, the crew around you, their faces gaunt but alive, their silence heavy with stories no one else will know. The tent flap lies still, the gull gone, the cliffs a distant line, and you feel their spirit settle, a fire that burned through ice, sea, and stone. Shackleton's gaze meets yours, a nod that speaks of vows kept, lives saved. The albatross, the seal, the hum, they fade into a legend, a tapestry of defiance, and you sail on, haunted yet whole, a survivor bound to their eternal spark.